Welcome to Thunderwudgie. I'm Annie.
I'm Reese.
I'm Tej.
And we're back. It's been a while, guys.
After a long hiatus.
Lots has happened, right?
Yeah.
We've had 2 moves, and I've had a baby. Emma is 7 months old now, so I guess that's new.
That's a gauge for how long we've been apart.
Right. It goes to show how long it's been since we've recorded.
Yikes. But we're back. We're committed. We didn't want to put things out when we weren't ready to give you new content, and now we are, right, guys?
New and fabulous content.
Exactly.
We wanted to be fully prepared and well rehearsed.
Yikes. We might not be able to deliver on that. I'm not sure. How's everyone's week been?
Better than Azkaban.
I like that that's our standard now. Not very high, but
No Dementors in the house.
Voldemort hasn't been chasing us, right? So
yeah.
No horses of death.
No.
No blast-ended scroots. So. We're killing it, really. Like it's a good week.
I appreciate the perspective. That is helpful. Yeah, no detention with Snape or anything like that. So.
No Umbridge.
Yeah, that's actually who I was thinking of, Umbridge. I haven't carved anything into my hand recently.
Yeah, you know what? I thought this was kind of a tough week, but now hearing this, I really am feeling better. I always feel better when I talk with you guys.
Do you think Harry grew up with those with that written on his hand? Like, did he have those scars?
Like as an adult? I think so.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know if they ever reference them again, but they say they were scars, and most scars don't really go away, right?
Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the day that his kids are asking him, like, what's this about?
Yeah.
This is why you don't tell lies. Because one time I told a lie.
I guess it's a powerful parenting lesson.
He was speaking truth to power.
That is true. So again, I feel like then do his kids take advantage of that, and then they say, well, Dad, I'm not lying. I'm just speaking truth to power.
I hope so.
That would be fantastic, I think. But yeah, so we don't want to focus too much on this, but when we say it's kind of been a tough week, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so I guess that's not nothing.
Unprecedented.
So not changing much of the podcast, but we've spent a lot more time indoors, I think, than normal. What have you guys been doing?
Avoiding vacuuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you realize how much more stuff around your place, all the cleaning that should be done. I don't know if I've really done more of it, but when you're stuck inside, you see what needs to be done.
I've meant to do more of it. It just hasn't really happened.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to have an excuse to put things off because I'm not doing anything tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
we're all lucky enough that we are working too, so we don't have suddenly 40 hours of free time. I don't know if that sounds cruel. I don't mean it that way, but.
No, we understand. No one really wants to be off of work right now. You're just saying that we are thankful to still have work, and but yeah, we don't have a lot of extra exploration time, I guess. But what's been something, because cleaning's not necessarily something fun that we would be doing right now. What's a moment of light that each of you have experienced this week, or something fun that you've done for yourself that just has made it a little better?
We had a phone call yesterday. That was one of the highlights of my week. I don't know, is that a cheating answer?
No, I think I'm realizing more and more kind of how the conversations with friends can really just, even if you're having a bad day, just to kind of like have other people that really care about you, and that to feel that, especially when you're not able to see them, is really, really helpful. So I would say that was a big highlight this week too. And I think, we're coming off, holiday season too, some Easter time. And it was weird this year to not see family. So again, the same using different, social media platforms and phone calls to stay connected to family and friends. So I think that's a huge positive from the week.
Definitely.
What about you, Reese?
A moment of light this week. I've been reading a little bit more.
What you reading?
Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. She's that lovely Sunday morning, it's either Saturday or Sunday morning public broadcast television preacher.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's I kind of grew up always judging her, but this is actually a pretty good book. I was like, look at this loser lady.
Is it a nonfiction or a fiction book?
No, nonfiction about how the devil enters your mind and puts little ideas about lack of self-esteem or just other little lies that you can take on as your own, and how there's a battlefield between good and evil to take back that ground.
Yeah, so it's not light reading, is it?
No, it's taken a few weeks to just get through the first quarter.
I feel like just during certain times, like when like I'm not able to go out and do as much, or when things are kind of heavy at work or whatever, I guess in the midst of all this, I feel like I always want like light books, you know what I mean? Or light shows that just kind of like keep me from thinking too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also intermittently reading some not Pride and Prejudice. Princess Bride.
Love Princess Bride.
Which is a lot like the movie, which is hilarious. It's pretty funny.
There's another book that you should read too off of that my husband and I really like Princess Bride, and so we read the book, and then there's a book called As You Wish, and it was about, I think from Carrie Elwes, one of the main actors, who wrote about the filming of the movie, which was really good. So
I love listening to him on podcasts.
Yeah.
He seems like such a nice guy.
I like that when you have an actor or actress that like you, from a character, you're like, I'd love, to meet them. And then they actually do seem like a good person, because I know, they are playing characters, right? But
it's kind of funny. I was listening to a podcast where they talked about the director of that movie, how he was able to get it made, because people had been wanting to make it for years and no one would like let them make it. And the only reason he could was he had so many hits in a row that they were like, what do you want to do next? And he said The Princess Bride, and they're like, anything but that. And he like insisted, and that's how he got it through. And then the other interesting thing I heard on another podcast was apparently G.K. Chesterton was brought into the church by Carrie Elwes's like a relative.
No way.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So, because it's like that last name, you're like, that's uncommon, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, interesting.
You never know whose life you're going to touch.
True.
I mean, I'm sure all of our listeners would say that our conversations are teaching them so much about life, right?
Yeah.
We're a major pivoting point of conversion for many souls.
I'm sure that is true.
Whether it's what to do or what not to do, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Speaking of the life choices and the meaning of life, Reese, you found some interesting videos recently.
I want to get their YouTube name right.
I'm excited.
Did you watch any of the stuff yet, Annie?
I have not yet.
Oh, it is such a treat.
It is.
So it is from the YouTube channel RCTGeek. And they do the Catholic saints of this Hogwarts house. So of Hufflepuff and Gryffindor and Ravenclaw and Slytherin. And it is fascinating. So, for example...
Do you tend to agree with most of them? I know you'll give some examples. I was just curious, or they spark discussion, I guess, right?
They kind of make it really good for discussion, actually, because, for example, Saint Teresa of Calcutta, they call Hufflepuff. Saint Teresa of Avila, they call a Slytherin.
Wow.
Now, I've heard multiple arguments that St. Teresa of Lisieux would be either a Hufflepuff or a Gryffindor. And people are very strong in both camps.
Okay, give us your thoughts, or the rundown.
Now, I feel like she'd be a Hufflepuff, but apparently we have some dissent right here in the podcast.
Okay, Reese, why do you think she would be a Hufflepuff?
The main reason is her famous little way. Like a Hufflepuff would just internalize and she's got books. Teach is ready with literature.
I mean, my bookshelf is right here, so I just turned around. And I'm like, I know what I need. Go ahead.
I just feel like the little way itself is very much the little Hufflepuff way. Like, be quiet and introspective and
keep working.
Keep your personal journey as far as you personally can reach and work in your own circle. I feel like a Hufflepuff will work in their own... What's the word I'm looking for? She's just giving me some attitude.
Yeah, she's not going to help you in any way.
I don't understand Hufflepuffs, so...
Tej, why would you say Gryffindor then? Kind of responding to that.
Because she is very strong, very tough. She has a super strong personality. The description of a Hufflepuff that Reese was just talking about, I don't think matches her at all. I feel like I used to hate Saint Therese. Hate's a strong word. Strongly dislike her because of the way she's presented, this sort of like saccharine, like sweet. She's so wonderful. She's so perfect. Her life was so privileged. And then I gradually got to actually know her and her story and, you know, what her life was really like and what her struggles were really like. And it was like, that's not her at all. And I think she would be I don't know if disappointed would be the right word, but she wouldn't find the way that she's popularly known and regarded as being like anything close to reality, which I find a comfort because, I mean, a lot of it for me is it's like, I can't be like the way that these saints are presented, but it's like, what were they actually like in real life instead of this, you know, kind of whitewashed thing. I don't know. So I'm trying to find a quote. So one of the things I love is there's this book. It's called The Last Conversations, and it's basically all the any Saint Therese quote that you've heard that you're like, if you've read Story of a Soul but it wasn't in there, it's probably from this. So basically, like, as she says things, you know, as she was dying, basically, you know, people started taking little notes and writing things down. Anyway, there's it's hard to do while we're talking, but she has some quote basically about a soldier is prepared for combat and I'm a soldier, you know, or something. And one of my favorite images of her is there's some pictures of her dressed as Saint Joan of Arc, that she really had a devotion to Saint Joan of Arc and a lot of like love for her, and I think felt very similar, like that they were similar. And so, I mean, this whole like combat and I'm a soldier and I'm, you know, she was very strong-willed. I mean, the reason that, like, her, when she was growing up, her folks had so much problems with her. She was the baby of the family and used to getting her own way and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I don't know, maybe, but like I said, know if I have quite a fair view of Hufflepuff, but she doesn't strike me as Hufflepuff.
To be fair, though, in the Battle of Hogwarts, I just always like to make this plug. Who was there besides the Gryffindors? I'm just saying.
Strong
Hufflepuff.
And steady.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that Joan of Arc necessarily would have fallen into the Hufflepuff camp. So
no, and the Gryffindor video, I think, puts her in Gryffindor.
Yes.
So I feel like Therese should be right there with her.
But her parents are also in Hufflepuff, according to the video.
Oh, the Martens?
Mm-hmm. Look at you using the French accent.
What were some other saints that you kind of strongly reacted to in the video?
Let's skim through this.
I wasn't sure about Saint Teresa of Calcutta, honestly, either, because I always kind of heard she was a feisty, strong-willed kind of, like, if you weren't heading the way she was heading, she'd lock horns with you.
I think that's very true, although she also shied away from a lot of those. I mean, she went into battle when she had to, but she shied away in reading some of her stuff. She didn't want to do interviews. She didn't want to be out there as like the point person on some of these things. She just wanted to, sit down, serve the poor in front of her, the person in front of her. So I think some of that is a little bit just like digging in, working hard, and doing the next thing that she has to do. But I agree with you that she also it took a forceful personality, which would be more like a Gryffindor.
And they've got, I think, is she Saint or Blessed Chiara Badano?
Blessed still, I think.
And then Augustine Tolton and Josephine Bakita. I think when I see all those people lined up like next to each other, I'm like, oh yeah, they're all Hufflepuffs. Like that all makes sense.
Yeah, I don't really know much. I mean, I'm familiar with all of them, but I don't know a lot about their stories. I'd say if of any of them, I'd probably know more about Josephine Bakita than the others, but even still.
I think there's still this air of like a Hufflepuff being weak.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of sad.
And Josephine Bakita came out of slavery, right? Like, because she's usually the patron saint when we talk about human trafficking or those types of things. That is kind of okay. So those are some Hufflepuffs according to the video. Okay, what? Give us some examples.
Let's skip over to the Ravenclaws, if we don't mind. St. Thomas Aquinas, Augustine.
Because they added a lot to the doctrine of the church, right? So that makes sense.
Augustine and Jerome. And now one that I don't quite agree with is St. Catherine of Siena. I feel like she would be more of a Gryffindor because she went and handed the Pope his own behind.
Yeah, she's smacked around.
Setting the world on fire, right?
Yeah.
So someone like St. Scholastica might be Ravenclaw. I think Catherine of Siena might be more Gryffindor. Thoughts?
I would agree with that. St. Catherine of Siena doesn't quite resonate with me for Ravenclaw.
Agreed. A little bit too much. I think more action. Although we had people like Hermione in the books who could have been a Ravenclaw easily, right? Like she had that intelligence and she added things in that way, but then lived out Gryffindor. So I guess this reminds you as you're trying to put saints into different categories how we have elements that could make us hard to categorize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we should have reviewed the definitions of each of these houses before.
Well, I think we did a really good overview of that in one of our earlier podcasts when we went through which houses each one of us were. We did read the description. I think when we found out Reese wasn't a Slytherin.
Yeah, when she had a big old cow.
She's looking very sad right now. I think we did do a good analysis of what those were.
Well, and I guess maybe there's Ravenclaw is known for wisdom, and I think that often we can associate wisdom with meaning smart, but that's not the case. That's not what that word actually means.
That's true. Look at you using wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Or knowledge.
Absolutely. And I think I did look real quick just so everyone is aware. If anyone wants to go back to episode 14 of season 1, it's called Sorta Trauma. That's one that you'll want to refer back to for this conversation.
Nice, Annie.
What about our Slytherins? because I feel like you kind of, when you think about Slytherin, it kind of has a tint of like, all these evil people. And I know we addressed that it's not, it's not just about being evil. There's these elements like ambitiousness that can sometimes lend to abuse of power, but that doesn't automatically mean that. So who are some of the saints that fit in that?
Well, in this video from RCTGeek, they quote Matthew 10:16, where it says, "Be as shrewd as serpents and as simple as doves." So, I mean, be as shrewd as serpents. He puts Ignatius Loyola, and then this one guy I've never heard of that had like a major conversion. Watch the video. It's really awesome. And then St. Patrick of Ireland drove out the snakes, and St. Teresa of Avila. But those are the only 4 that they came up with. And all the rest of them have like 1 million.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not something I've ever thought about, so I'd have to think about it.
That may be something we'll have to come back to in a future episode if we think of any additional Slytherin. But
it's probably a lot of Dominican Slytherins.
Yeah, probably.
I'm curious what makes Ignatius Loyola a Slytherin.
He ain't gonna let nothing get him down. I think in the video they focus a lot on ambition. So having the ambition to push past adversity to complete the mission that God has given you.
That's a very positive way of looking at it.
Yeah. That could be Catherine of Siena. But I think we also need to remember that these saints, given the opportunity to wear the sorting hat, could have an inkling of decision on which house they end up in.
Absolutely.
So maybe the ones that are like missionaries would be more likely to join Slytherin because they feel like it's mission territory.
I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
But that could also be very Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I think maybe it depends on the motivations behind certain things. And like a Gryffindor, like maybe it would be people who didn't necessarily want to go out and do these things, but did in a difficult situation, where Slytherins like had more of that zeal for going out and I don't know, because we talk about courage in Gryffindor, right? So it's not necessarily, I don't know, it depends on the motivations and how excited maybe the saint was about doing it and why they were doing it.
Well, the other question is, like with Reese's sorting, we brought up is the 11-year-old Reese versus the present day. So it's St. Catherine of Siena was always a pretty special person, but some of these, goofballs, like what were they doing when they were 11, versus later. So that could have an effect too.
So St. Therese at 11, I still feel like she would have been put in Hufflepuff.
She was like a screaming banshee. I mean, she was like having fits and things. Like
us Hufflepuffs don't like to make waves.
Yeah.
Then she might have not been a Hufflepuff. You've read more. Tej has read more about St. Therese than I have at all. So you know more.
Am I? I don't know.
I'm very curious what our listeners would say. So if anyone does have anything to add to this conversation, I think we should have you reach out. And we've got our Gmail, thunderwudgies@gmail.com with an S, and our Twitter, thunderwudgie. So reach out, let us know what you think. And if you have another saint that maybe they haven't reviewed that you think might go good in a particular house.
Yeah, if you have a patron saint that you know a lot about and really have an affinity for, that'd probably be very compelling.
Definitely, and we love hearing from our fans. Yeah. Cool. News!
So other than coming across those videos, we did come across some other Harry Potter news recently.
Yeah, fill us in. I think there was, you sent an article around.
They've launched an online Potter Hub to help keep children educated. Harry Potter at Home puts the first book on Audible's library of free books, apparently. And apparently there's other games and articles and videos and things on this website. I haven't looked at it, but it's kind of an interesting idea just in general how these different creative people are sharing their talents with folks during this time.
I liked one of the quotes in the article that you had sent around from J.K. Rowling. During the strange times we find ourselves in, we want to welcome you back to Hogwarts, where you will find a friendly retreat for you, your family, and those you are caring for. She said, wanting to keep children amused and interested. Some of the parents, teachers, and carers might need a little bit of magic, and I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because again, as we were talking about at the beginning, just finding these moments of light in a weird time just can be really helpful. And it is an opportunity for some people maybe to explore books or things that they've kind of put off for a little while. Doing extra puzzles or reading books or seeing movies. And I know a lot of kids are at home, now trying to do school from home. So incorporating Harry Potter into that. And I think the article also talked about ways that, relaxing some of the copyright permission so that teachers could read books to their kids. I know that was something that we always enjoyed, in elementary school. We read the BFG, some of the Roald Dahl books, and our teacher would read them aloud. And of course, at that age, we could have read them on our own, but it was kind of nice to come together as a class and hear our teacher read those. So that's great that they'll have the opportunity to do that around Harry Potter as well.
I'm looking at the website right now, and it looks fantastic. And
I know
I'm probably
what
going to
Reese is going to be doing.
I'm probably going to be playing some of these games. It says first year's magic quiz. See what you remember from the first book.
Ooh.
I might do that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how you do on it.
Yeah, really.
I will be sure to report back.
Yeah.
Maybe we should all take it and report back on what we remembered next podcast.
So some other news I just came across is that there was just an airing of all of the Harry Potter movies. It does not say what channel it was on, but they showed some deleted scenes that had not been in the movies before, that had not been seen before.
Ooh.
So when the Durmstrang students come in the Goblet of Fire, there's a whole extended scene where they're singing the Hogwarts school, anthem? Hogwarts, Hoggy, Hoggy, Hogwarts?
Yeah.
I'm just hoping they release that somewhere so we can watch it.
Yeah, I'm curious with some of these movies, there's so much content that needs to go in, and I'm sure we've all watched a certain movie and said, okay, well, why didn't they include that from the books? And it is curious, how do they, I'm sure they filmed so much stuff, and how do they make some of those decisions so that the story still makes sense?
Well, it's just like this podcast. It's all great content. Everything that we record is amazing. However, it can't be too long, and, it might be a little draggy at points or off topic, and so you just got to do a little snip here and a little trim there and keep things a little more focused. But
we gotta make it sound pretty for you.
Well, I'm curious too if along these lines, if anyone has seen any Harry Potter news, or if you have any thoughts about content that you would like to hear this next season too, please let us know. Again, thunderwudgies@gmail.com, or visit us on Twitter @thunderwudgie.
It's been fun. I'm excited about season 2.
It's really good to be back with you all, and we're looking forward to another great season.
Thunderwudgie ho!
Thunderwudgie ho!
Thunderwudgie is hosted by Reese, Annie, and Tej. We're @Thunderwudgie on Twitter, and you can send us an email via thunderwudgies@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Hola.
Okay.
Good night, mate.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
How do I do this? I just feel like how I'm hearing you guys is not how I thought I was going to hear you, so it's cool. That's cool. That's good.
Oh, I can kind of hear your lawnmower.
Great, good.
I was.
I had headphones, but it's not. Okay, we feeling good?
Always.
Always.
Welcome to Thunderwudgie. Just kidding. I should be. Okay, let's start there. I got this. Ready?
Woo woo.
That's our sign off now. Both of those things. Ho woo woo.
Woo woo.
Ho woo.